And I'm joined here with Yvonne and Duran, and we're here from Woodsworth College Registrar's office. So we're in for a really exciting, well, important workshop. Yvonne makes it exciting. We're talking about finances. Hopefully you've been with us throughout our programming already. So if you don't know my name is Meredith. We've led some different workshops, including a workshop on study permits, one on hidden curriculum, the big picture goals of what you need to consider when you're doing your requirements, your degree requirements while you're a University of Toronto Faculty of Arts and Science student, and of course, course enrollment. So hopefully all of you have gone through the process of course enrollment at this point. Now we're shifting towards our next big deadline, which is the deadline to defer or pay the minimum registration amount for tuition. Hopefully these are conversations that you're already having, things that you're already researching, but most importantly, I'm really glad that you're here so that we can hear more about this next big step. All right, so before we get started, let me just go over through the agenda. So we're going to do some welcomes, we're going to do some introductions, then we're going to transition to talking about those deadlines and more in depth. We're going to talk about primary and secondary forms of financial aid, grants, employment, scholarships, what to do in a financial emergency, and of course, we're going to end with a Q&A. So how this works is we'll most likely talk for probably about 30 to 40 minutes. But and in those 40 minutes, we're going to have some polls. So kind of like quizzes to have to shake things up and whatnot. If you don't know the answer to those polls, just know that's completely okay. Take a shot. We're all here learning together. So give your best guess and then we'll take it up together, okay? No one's keeping track. It's more just for fun at this point and learning. And then, as I noted, we'll have a Q&A. It'll be about 15 minutes. And so if you have questions along the way, what I hope you do is just write them down because those questions are super important. We all learn, like the more questions you ask, the more we're all learning together. So please write them down and we'll make sure that we revisit those questions at the end. The other thing I want to highlight is that we have a summer to-do list. So some reminders here that are on it. Maybe you're considering participating in Arrive Ready. Maybe you already have. That's wonderful. There is a module for each admission category that kind of helps you get set up. I think it's run by faculty, so then you can get an idea of what classes are like, or at least what kind of material, how to interact and practice those skills. There's also a university prep courses that you could consider registering for, starting submitting your documentation for T-cards, and of course, as I mentioned, reviewing the financial invoice and that pay and deferral fee deadline. When I'm talking about the summer to-do list, I just want to highlight that this is in the Welcome to Woodsworth Quirkus shell. You all have access to this already. The summer to-do list has many more action items. Let's see. I think I'm having trouble. Okay, let me log into that. But basically, the summer to-do list is a really great place for you to find out what kind of action items you need to consider when through to-do list. Yes, so we're in July, and of course, we're approaching August in about 2 weeks. So these are the ones that are at this point in time. But there's many more modules. There's information about Woodsworth College. Right now, we're starting the conversation around finances. So module 7, a lot of the resources that Yvonne will talk about can be read about here in module 7, okay? The last thing I want to note is that some of you might have orientation on your mind as well. Information about orientation can be found here. Woodsworth College leads an orientation where you can join in on the fun from August 31st to September 6th, and there's tickets that you would need to buy. So if you want to join in on that, tickets can be found there. And of course, there's many more orientation events across the campus. This includes transfer student orientation. If you're a transfer student and you want to meet other transfer students and similar who have experience in other institutions, that might be nice. Black student orientation, accessibility services orientation, career orientation, Indigenous student orientation, orientation for students with family responsibilities and mature student welcome. So there's all kinds of different opportunities during that orientation time to meet people. All right, so I'll leave that with you. And if you have any trouble joining Welcome to Woodsworth, just reach out and I can assist you with that, okay? During the registration process for this workshop, I asked for some questions, and I really appreciate everyone who asked. So the questions go from, can bursary and grants be made available in time to cover fall and winter 2026 registration fees? Another question, my OSAP is expected on September, but I already received an invoice. What should I do? Financial aid available for international students. Where should we store our money for U of T related stuff in a savings U of T account, etc.? Overall financial process and any other commonly overlooked parts of said process. So I bolded all those because most of that information will be covered during today's session. If not, we're going to revisit these questions during the Q&A, but I just want you to know that those questions will certainly be a part of it. And then someone asked, when will we find our roommates, who they are and move-in dates? Those are questions that you can reach out to. So at this point, I think the majority of you may be assigned to your residence. Some of you may not, because I think residence placements is taking place all the way to August. But if you have and you want more information about that, you can either reach out to housing or you can reach out to the residence that you've been assigned to for more information about that. And before we get into things, I also want to just explain who Woodsworth College Registrar's Office. So within the Faculty of Arts and Science, there's 7 different colleges. And so the one that you belong to is Woodsworth College Registrar. And the reason it's set up that way is because the Faculty of Arts and Science is so big. And so if you think about the Faculty of Arts and Science like a big city, the different colleges are like neighborhoods. And so the Woodsworth College is your home base, your neighborhood to meet your community. With that, the registrar office exists within Woodsworth College so that you can get your information, resources, and support. So we're available for academic advising, financial advising, and one-on-one appointments. So if you ever have questions, just know you're not alone. We know that the university is big, and so we're here to help you navigate it and answer your questions. Okay, without further ado, we went over a bunch of different things, but now I want to introduce you to Yvonne. So Yvonne, feel free to take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm really happy that you're taking some of your time to attend this session. You're going to hear my voice for the next 40 minutes or so, talking about a variety of things that are already covered in Module 7. This is going to be more of an overview. I will explain the following things. First of all, who I am and what I do. I'm the main financial aid advisor here at Woodsworth College, so I can help answer questions about student loans and grants. I can give some more complex explanation of tuition fees and deadlines. Sometimes students may want to discuss appropriate employment hours or whether, for example, they should be working during their first year of studies. I also have information about awards and scholarships, and I can assist with financial aid and budgeting related to your time as a student.
So yeah, before we get started, we'll start with some myth or fact. So I'll launch the poll. So feel free to, so myth or fact, students who do not defer or pay the minimum registration amount by the August deadline will be removed from their courses. Myth or fact, once classes begin, I can ignore my payment details.
Absolutely. So the first question, yes, you are required to take action on August 11th to either defer based on a student loan or make a minimum fee payment in order to register. If you don't do that, you will, about 10 days later, be removed from the classes that you added on Acorn. So it's really critical to take action on August 11th to finalize your registration. And oh my goodness, the second question, 100% of you got that right. I don't even think I really need to comment much. except to say, like, as a new student and as a returning student at U of T, it's really critical that you pay attention to the messages that you're going to receive in your U of T email from the university itself or from messages that you might see on Acorn. And one of those may be reminders to make your fee payments, check your student account, just get in the habit of doing that. Okay, so a few key dates and deadlines for you to think about. We've already been talking about that August 11th deadline. So if you're getting a student loan, such as the Ontario Student Assistance Program, you can, and it's final, you can defer your fees on Acorn starting August 11th. If you're not getting a student loan, for example, if you're an international student or someone who's self-funding, you'll need to make the minimum fee payment that's listed on Acorn. And then sort of moving into the fall term, September 30th, if you haven't paid the minimum payment or if OSAP or your other student loan hasn't, cleared your fall term tuition fees, make sure that you take care of that because unpaid fall term fees will be charged service charges 1.5% compounded monthly, which adds up quickly. Service charges begin October 15th. And then moving into November, for students without a tuition fee deferral, like without OSAP, please make sure that you clear your tuition fees by November 30th because winter term service charges for students without a fee deferral begin December 15th. Next slide, please. Okay, another one. Love these.
Amazing. Okay, so I'll go ahead and launch the second one. And it's matter of fact, I paid or deferred my fees. This means I'm registered.
So this is true. Once you defer or pay your fees, this will change your status to registered, which is great. That's what you want. In order for your student loan to pay out once classes begin, you need to have a registered status. In order to keep the classes that you've added, you need to have a registered status. And as you can see on this screenshot of Acorn, once your status is changed, you can check and you can see highlighted in green with that big red arrow, registered. That's what you want.
By August 11th, the
Yes,
student should keep a track and make sure that it says registered by
correct.
that
Yeah,
timeline. Okay, perfect.
absolutely.
Go ahead.
Okay. University of Toronto is made up of a lot of offices that support students. One of the most important for finances is the Office of Student Accounts. So student accounts has a really comprehensive website with a ton of information. And this is where you would look to find information about your tuition payments, if you've overpaid or you have an award or a grant that is being refunded or sent to you. This is where you would find info there. There's an outline of how to make tuition fee payments, very comprehensive information about those service charges I've referred to, a very detailed information about what exactly is a tuition fee deferral. And like I said before, these can be given based on a student loan. But if you're someone who's lucky enough to have an admissions award that covers more than 50% of your total invoice, you can also defer your fees on that basis. And that just it registers you and it gives extra time for the payment to arrive in your student account. It's just moving the actual payment date a little into the future based on guaranteed funding. And finally, student accounts also has important tax information. Next slide, please. Okay. One thing to really keep in mind is that it would be unusual for a student, especially a domestic student, to have only one source of financial support to cover their tuition. So students and their families pay their education-related expenses in a variety of ways. This will not apply to everybody. Everybody has a unique financial situation, but just keep this in mind that it's often a combination of financial sources. For example, Some people may have savings. That may be, you've been working part-time while you're in high school. Maybe you've, set aside some of those earnings. You have your own resources. It may be, especially if you're within North America and Canada, we have something called an RESP, a Registered Education Savings Plan. Some families will have set these up when a child is, a newborn and contribute to this regularly. Now's the time to, once you're registered, to start withdrawing those funds. But more than 50% of Woodsworth College students will apply for government student aid. I keep referring to OSAP. So in Ontario, the Ontario Student Assistance Program is the most common source of financial aid for students. Other provinces and territories within Canada have their own version of that. If you're somebody coming from the US, there are multiple student loans that are available. If you're an international student, each country's different. You may be seeking out government student aid. You may be applying for a bank loan. Again, within Canada, if the student loan is not available, perhaps family income is too high, or maybe there are other circumstances where there's a higher financial need, some students will apply for a student line of credit from their bank. This is different than a sort of regular line of credit. It's for full-time students. The interest charges and terms of these kinds of loans tend to be a little bit better if it's a student line of credit. So I would recommend that you consult with your bank, see what's available and what's appropriate for you. You will need someone to co-sign for a student line of credit. And like with any kind of loan, make sure you read the fine print. Some students within Canada, especially Indigenous students, may have a sponsorship like band funding. Students from outside of Canada, international students may have a government sponsorship or an award from a third party. It's unique to everybody. So just keep in mind, again, a variety of sources are typically used to pay for an education. And again, more than half of the domestic students at Woodsworth College have a government student loan in place. Next slide, please. Okay, now we're going to talk about primary financial aid. And by primary financial aid, I mean the largest source of financial support that students receive. I keep referring to OSAP. So if you're an Ontario domestic student, now is the time. Hopefully you already have, in fact, applied for your student loan. OSAP is available for both full-time and part-time students. If you're a student from another province, such as British Columbia or Alberta or one of the territories, etc., there is an equivalent student loan that you can apply for. These are all done online. You should get working on this right away. If you're receiving a full-time student loan from Canada, typically those full-time loans assist with tuition and basic living expenses. It's different if you're a part-time student. If you're a part-time student applying for part-time funding, it would typically only cover the cost of tuition, and then you would be responsible for paying for your living expenses. Most student funding consists of a combination of a repayable loan and in some cases, non-repayable grants. We like those grants because they provide financial support without debt. You may have seen in the news that the formula for determining who gets a non-repayable grant within the province of Ontario has changed. Definitely pay attention when you're applying to see exactly what the proportions are when you're applying for OSAP. If you haven't done these applications, please, please, please do them now. It typically takes 4 to 6 weeks for an assessment to come through, and we do have that August 11th deferral deadline fast approaching. If you're a student from the United States, you can apply for a variety of US student loans. As I mentioned before, the student line of credits from your bank may be available. And if you are an international student, please inquire from your home country what is available to you. There might be a government student loan, or you may need to be seeking a bank loan in conjunction with your family. Next slide, please. If you need help with any of your student loans, whether it's OSAP, out of province, or a US student loan, strong recommendation that you get in touch with another office, the University Registrar's Office, otherwise known as the URO. This is the main financial aid office at the University of Toronto. Wonderful staff there. If I would say if you're looking for help with your student loan, the first thing you should start is on the loan website itself. There may be information modules there. But if you do need support, you can also reach out to the University Registrar's Office. Once you're kind of further along with the loan application process, the staff there will be able to give you advice. So if you get a message saying, please contact the University of Toronto Financial Aid Office, this is the office that that message is typically referring to. You can, of course, get in touch with us in the Woodsworth College Registrar's Office. We can help with some general questions, but we too use the URO as our source of expertise and advising. So by all means, start with us, but don't be surprised if in some cases we need to refer you along for additional support. It's just one of the many places at U of T that you can get help. Next slide, please.
Myth or fact, students who have already paid their tuition are no longer eligible for provincial aid.
I'm really happy to see that so many students know that even if you've paid your fees, you can still apply for a student loan. Check the deadlines. You can apply until I think it's 40 to 60 days before the end of term. So that would leave you with the ability to apply well into the winter, like well into the end of February. This might be a question that you might reach out to us about. But I mean, my general principle is if there's something that you think you may qualify for and it will be to your financial benefit, you should definitely apply. Next slide, please. Okay, moving on to secondary financial aid. Once you have your student loan in place, there are other sources of support, and in this section, I'm going to describe them. Okay, if you are a domestic student at the University of Toronto receiving a government student loan, such as OSAP or another provincial or territorial student loan, you can apply for the UTAPS grant. This is short for the University of Toronto Advanced Planning for Students. Just think of it as the largest other source of financial support that you may qualify for. If you qualify, it may supplement the loan and grants that you're receiving from the government. It can be a significant amount. It really depends on your financial situation. You do have to apply every year. It's really important. Put this on your to-do list, apply for your student loan. And then once you get the student loan assessment, that's the amount that they're going to give you. Then make sure you apply for UTAPS. If you're an Ontario student, you typically find out the results of that application around the middle of October, slightly later for students from other territories and provinces. The application's available now. Get going on this. It's really important. Again, if you think you qualify and you're a domestic student with a student loan, go get this, please. Next slide, please. In addition to that UTAPS grant, there's something called the Undergraduate grant application. This is available on the Finances section of ACORN in early October. I think the opening date is the 5th of October this year. So undergraduate grants, like all grants, do not normally have to be repaid. They're based on demonstrated financial need, or if you have an emergency. I'm the human that reviews these applications for Woodsworth students. So I definitely recommend that you apply. Typically, you do have to have a student loan in place. If you're an international student with an unforeseen circumstance, and you meet with me, I may also suggest that you submit this grant application. Be aware that it does take, a few weeks for us to review the applications. There's a grant committee that makes the final decision. I am not part of that committee. I advise the committee. I try to prepare and present the grant applications to that committee. So it's quite common that if I have questions or suggestions, I may reach out to the applicant and ask some questions via email or request a quick meeting. There's no need to provide supporting documents typically when you're doing the application. But if we do need further information, I will let you know. Definitely apply if you think you need this. Next slide, please. Employment. So one of the most common questions that I get is, can I work on campus while I am at university? And the short answer is yes. But of course, like all of these situations, there is a longer answer as well. Next slide.
All right, so we're gonna take a moment and do a little reflection moment. So I'll launch this poll, mostly to see what everyone's feeling. Like, how many hours per week do you think is realistic to work while studying full time? So we have 5 hours, 10 to 12 hours, 15 to 20 hours, and 30 hours. So that the idea is that you're balancing this work while doing full-time school. And Yvonne, what are you thinking about these?
Well, I think this is fantastic. Again, very, very savvy group. Typically in the registrar's office and, even OSAP would recommend that a full-time student enrolled in 3 credits or more should typically not be working more than 10 to 12 hours a week. That's, if you think of that as like a shift and a half, like maybe a weekend day and maybe, a couple hours during the week. And this varies from person to person. Some students are in heavier course loads. A new job is very different than a pre-existing job. Like if you're someone, for example, who's been working as a lifeguard at your local pool since you were, in grade 10. That may be something that just fits into your schedule naturally, and you'd like to continue earning that money, and it may help you to, organize yourself. Sometimes those work hours really allow us to plan our time management a little bit better. But if you're somebody who hasn't worked, first year may not be the best time to take on a job, even a part-time job. You really do want to take at least the first term to get settled into your studies. Um, Something that you can discuss with advisors in the registrar's office. We have a wonderful office at U of T called the Career Learning Network. And I'll explain a little bit more about what that office does. Next slide. Here we are. So the Career Learning Network is an office where you can find help on getting an off or on-campus job, but they also have invaluable information about volunteer opportunities. Volunteer opportunities on campus are a really good way to build up a new type of experience, make connections, maybe build your resume. A lot of volunteer work is often required for a certain kind of award that we distribute called a service award, which has a community service component. The staff at the CLNx also give a long series of workshops, really, really good focused workshops that are definitely worth your time. Things like resumes, practice interviews, networking, They offer advising and mentorship. Of course, they do have job postings both on and off campus, and they can help provide information about an amazing program on campus called Work Study. Next slide, please. I'm going to talk a little bit more about work study. Work study are jobs that are on campus. They are capped at no more than 12 hours a week. Going back to our poll and a reflection moment, work study positions are open to both domestic and international students. If you think about, who would be a good employer while you're a full-time student, yeah, it would make sense that a department or an office on campus would be more understanding of the need for you to take time away to study for midterms. The great thing about the work study jobs is that they're over before the final exams. Again, it can be a great way to get new experience. It may be something that meshes quite nicely with your field of study. I can't recommend work study highly enough, but do keep in mind that these jobs are very popular, so it can be quite competitive to obtain one, but I really do want to put it on your radar to think about a work study position or just a general job on campus. Maybe the library, the athletic center, even the food services that the U of T offers. In general, if you're looking for work, I strongly recommend that you try to find a job that's either close to where you're living or close to campus itself. You don't want to add a third location and find yourself kind of tired out by all of that time and transportation. It's time and money and wear and tear. If you're an international student and you have questions about working while you're here, definitely speak to the wonderful staff at the Center for International Experience, otherwise known as the CIE. Staff there can give you information about work permits and other general information as well. And finally, I just like to end this section by saying that in general, student loans such as OSAP build right into the formula an expectation that students do take the summer to work full time to save money for their contribution to the next year. So not so much the summer out of high school, which is only a couple months long, but the summer break, once you're a full-time student, is typically 4 months. So definitely think about what you're going to be doing in the summer of 2027 and start planning for that once you're settled into U of T. So most people are looking for summer work, usually starting in February. Next slide, please. Okay, scholarships, just a great way of recognizing those high grades that you've achieved. One of my favorite things to talk about. Next slide. Okay, what exactly is a scholarship or an award? Like I said, most of these are based on grades achieved in the previous academic year. At this point in time, most of the admissions awards have already been distributed. Most students will receive these along with their offer of admission. At Woodsworth College, we do have a small number of awards that we give out a little bit later, usually once classes begin in September. And the reason we're giving them admissions awards later is because we need to know who has a domestic student loan in place. So there's a small possibility if you're a domestic student with OSAP in place that you might get an admissions award email notification from me. Typically after classes begin in September. Keep in mind that the amounts are quite modest and most do not require an application. A little bit later, we will be distributing in-course awards for students who have completed 5 credits at the University of Toronto already. So for this group, that would typically be in January of 2028, once you've completed 5 credits. If your grades are high, keep in mind that not everyone's going to get an award. There are a limited number of these, and we have a very large student population at Woodsworth College, which means we have lots of students with really high grades. So there is a very strong competition for these awards. You can, have a chat with me about in-course awards once you're settled at U of T. There is a searchable database called Award Explorer that you can take a look at. And there is an application at Woodsworth College called the Woodsworth College Scholarship Application. It's typically open between the 15th of September and the 15th of December. And this is for a small number of awards that we have that require self-identification. But again, keep in mind, you have to have completed 5 credits before you can apply for most awards. But again, you can also chat with me. Next slide, please. Budgeting. Oh my goodness. I hope that you have had a conversation with your family about what financial resources they're able to maybe support you with. Budgeting is one of those things that is kind of an optimistic process. It is absolutely a good idea to plan ahead and sort of budget. What are your basic financial resources? What's your sort of monthly income that you have available? You might want to think about, what your fixed and variable costs are. An example of a fixed cost would be the tuition. That's, next to rent, that's going to be the largest amount in your monthly budget. But variable costs are things like food or entertainment. Another fixed cost might be your phone bill. It's just, start by writing these things down and thinking about what the difference is between, an essential cost and a nice to have. Like, do you need to, be going to see a movie once a week, for example? And keep in mind that things change. I like to say that budgets are very organic documents. Keep track of your spending, update your budget. And then I always strongly recommend revisiting, seeing what the trends are, and plan for things to change, right? So if you're a student living in residence, for an example, if you're in the Woodsworth residence and you're planning on cooking all of your meals, that may not be a reasonable expectation once midterms hit. That might be a time when you build in a little bit of flexibility to allow for some takeout, and to buy you some extra time to study. And then take some time before you leave home to have a discussion with your family, if appropriate, about what the financial expectations are. Every family has a different financial philosophy, so it's going to vary. And then, of course, you can always meet with me to talk about budgeting. If you complete the undergraduate grant application, part of it is going to be completing a budget. So that'll give you a good overview of your 8 months of income and expenses. But at U of T, we also have the financial planning calculator, which is a great little tool that can give you a very general idea of, how you're going to spend and whether or not you have a deficit or a surplus. So definitely something to work on. Next slide, please. Okay. Remember Quercus, this amazing welcome to Woodsworth resource, something that you can use both now and while you're, enrolled. There is this great checklist. So I do love a good checklist. My favorite thing is crossing things off on a checklist that I've already done. So just to kind of summarize what we're seeing here, things you should be doing before you even get here. Do that OSAP application if appropriate, do the budget. If you're thinking about part-time work, and again, maybe not the best idea. think about part-time work, make your minimum fee payment or defer your fees by the 11th of August. If you're registered without a fee deferral, it still is September 30th that you need to make your fee payment to avoid the service charges. Winter term fees, November 30th, 2026. And then make sure you, if you're a student loan, make sure you pay your winter term fees by the end of, oh, it looks like we're getting a refreshed version. Okay. Um, all good. Anyway, use the checklist. And oh, there we go. Okay, there is an updated version. Thank you, Meredith. Yeah, and if you're, all the things that I've talked about in this little session, and just a general reminder to reach out to us if you have questions. Next slide. Okay, there we go. I'm going to take a breath here. So, stuff happens in life, right? So sometimes things are going along really, really well. You have one plan and then something changes. It's not uncommon when enrolled as an undergrad for a student or their family to face some kind of emergency. These things happen. The most important message I want to leave with you is that you should reach out for assistance. So please get in touch with the registrar's office. Let us know what's happening. One of our staff will be happy to meet with you. If the emergency is impacting your finances, there might be some modest financial support available to help you. In general, the faster we know about these things, the faster we can help. So it may take a while for things to sink in, for you to think about what your next steps should be. But generally, like if you're going through something, please connect with us as soon as you're comfortable doing so. And just a general reminder that everything that you share is protected by Ontario privacy legislation. It is confidential. Um, so please just, kind of keep this serious topic in mind. Thank you.
One thing is, this is a little bit, some of you may have already heard of it. Maybe you've received emails. You all should have received emails about our mentorship at Woodsworth College. So if you have questions, maybe some questions hearing, like when it comes to finances, maybe you would love to hear from a student point of view of what it's like to balance schoolwork with work. The mentorship program is a really good place to go. Like if you want to have that student perspective and hear what they think is a good balance, some tips for maybe who to reach out to. That's an example of ways that you can interact with the mentorship program. Other things could be as things like where should I study on campus, or who can I go to talk to about what program I should pick. All those things you can definitely reach out to students. And so this is taking place in the summer, but also in first year as well. The other thing to highlight is we have, I just like to, now that we're here at the University of Toronto, you'll get your UT email address set up. One thing I do want to highlight, it's never fun to talk about, but it is scam emails. So sometimes you may get an email. We have been notified by students that scam emails look really official. They look like the U of T email address. It's nothing that you really need to panic too much about. It's more just one of those things that you should be very aware when reading it and question whether or not all emails sound legitimate. So things that you would be critical of is like any pressure to act immediately. If they ask for money, passwords, or personal emails, and this is really timely, especially when we get to that August 11th deadline. You should never feel like you need to act immediately on that. Also, we always send out a lot of communication ahead of time about those deadlines. And the other thing is, if someone ever asks you for payment through Interact e-transfer, that should also be a highlight there, because we'll never ask for that, okay? Lastly, what to do in those situations, just don't interact with it. If you really aren't sure, you can always call us and we can discuss whether or not it's legitimate or not, because I do understand it's hard to determine. But yeah, the big thing is just don't interact unless you're sure. Also, I also want to highlight workshop 7 is coming up in a few weeks. This one's all about wellness at U of T. What kind of resources are here, how to make that balance between academics, social life, taking care of your health. Also, preparing for first term, like what are some tangible things that you can do as we get to first year? And then the other thing we'll be discussing here is generative AI as a tool. That is definitely something that's new to our space or has been here for a little bit now. And so just what that looks like, how to use it responsibly, can it be used in the university? These are conversations that we'll have in that session. Yvonne, thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your knowledge about this. And then if there's questions along the way, just know the conversation doesn't need to stop here. We have more, we have a lot of advisors here that can assist. You can meet with us one-on-one in September. You can email us. We're definitely available for those conversations. So our email is wdwregistrar@utoronto.ca, okay? All right, Yvonne.